Hello, my name is Kelly Rawl, and I'm the coordinator for pre-kindergarten and family engagement. I'm really glad that you're here joining us and watching this video today, because that just shows how committed you are to supporting your child during their first grade year. And we also know that not everyone is available to attend a live session online at the same time. And so we just really appreciate that you're taking the time to do this with your student today. I am going to do things a little bit differently today. And that means that I'm going to switch back and forth between my screen and my camera so that I can share some information. And then also I'll be able to model some of the activities that we're going to be doing today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, and we'll get started. Welcome to the first grade Spotlight on Literacy workshop. I hope that you had a chance to grab your favorite book and keep it handy during the session so that you can practice some of the strategies that I'm showing you. We need to know that you were here watching our video, and we would like for you to either use the link that you see here. You can type it into your web browser, or you can scan the QR code that will take you directly to the form. Once you fill out the form, then we would like you to get started today by talking with your first grader about penguins. We're going to be reading a book about penguins. And so what I want you to do is to activate some background knowledge and find out, what does your child already know about penguins, and what would they like to know about penguins? And this is a very important part of the reading process, and it's called activating prior knowledge. And we usually do this before we read a story. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. So you can push pause on your screen and then press play again when you're ready to go forward. Now, our first activity that we're going to do all together with the boys and girls is echo reading. And when we echo read, parents, this is something that we can do to model fluent reading. We can also model how we read with expression, and reading expression shows that students understand what they're reading. And it also just gives you an opportunity to read something in a different and fun, engaging way with your child. Okay, so echo reading, boys and girls, do you know what echo reading is? Do you know what echo reading is? Oh, you're right. It's like when you're up in the mountains and you go, hello, and then you hear the sound echoing across the mountain range. Hello, hello, hello. See, that's echoing. It's kind of like copying somebody. When you copy someone, you're saying everything they say, and it can be really annoying. But when we ask you to echo read with us in school, or your parents ask you to echo read at home, then it's being done for a totally different reason. And so we're going to try that today. And so the basic process is that I will read a line, and then you will say what I said. You'll repeat after me. Okay, so if I say the first line, which happens to be the title, let's come together, then you are going to read it again and repeat what I said. All right, let's practice. Let's come together. Great, you did it just right. And did you notice that I pointed to you when it was your turn to read? That is another thing that I really want you to do, to notice that when I point to you, it's your turn to read. Okay, so we're going to start with the title, and then we'll do the echo reading. Let's come together. Let's come together. Let's be a reading team. Books have the power to give you what you dream. Okay, you guys did awesome. Now we're going to do it one more time, and I'm going to read it with expression. And I'm also going to correct a mistake that I made. When I was reading it the first time, I wasn't reading the punctuation correctly. Boys and girls, whenever you see a period, what are you supposed to do? Yes, you stop, and then you take a breath and you go on to the next sentence. Well, there's a line in this poem that does not have a period, and I stopped anyway. So when I get to that line again, I'm going to be sure to read all the way through to the ending punctuation. I'm also going to change my voice a little bit. And parents, that's something fun that you can do when you're reading. Always read with expression, but sometimes you can change your voice. So I'm going to do a little bit of that. So boys and girls, when I change my voice, then you change your voice also. All right, let's get started. Let's come together. Let's come together. I did that wrong too. We're going to start over. Are you ready? Let's come together. Let's come together. Let's be a reading team.
Books have the power to give you what you dream.
Ah, yay, very good. You guys did wonderful. So parents, you can do echo reading, whether you're reading a poem or you're reading a story. It doesn't matter what you're reading. You can always do echo reading and make it more fun for the kiddos. Okay, boys and girls, sit tight for just a minute. I want to talk to the parents for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to pat you on the back. I'm not there to do it in person, so pat yourself on the back because you are taking the extra step to watch this video with your students. And that just means that you are already starting to form good habits of being an engaged family. You're engaging in your child's education. And we know from oodles and oodles of research that students with engaged families are more likely to have better attendance, they make better grades, they take more advanced classes when they get older, they stay in school longer, and they graduate. And that's all very important. Beyond school, beyond graduation, they often go on to college, tech school, or the military. But all of these are fantastic reasons to be more engaged in your child's education. So kudos to you, very good. Now we're going to go on with the show. This slide doesn't actually apply to us very much except for the last bullet. When we're done today, you're going to have some new strategies that you can take home and use with your kiddos. You'll have some flashcard resources and some other resources that are going to be in a folder that I have created for you. And then also, you'll get your free books as soon as they come in. And I will be sure to send those out to you and your student via your child's teacher. Okay, let's go on to our next activity. So this is all about introductions. At the beginning of the meeting, I actually told you what my name is, but I'm Kelly Rawl. And as you know, I'm leading your learning for today. And the book that we're reading introduces the main character on the front cover. So the title of the book is Pierre the Penguin, A True Story. And it was written by John Marzullo and illustrated by Laura Reagan. So talk to your parents, talk to your child about what do you think Pierre is going to do in this book? And would you say that this book is fiction or nonfiction? And how do you know? Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about what Pierre is going to do and whether or not you think that this book is fiction or nonfiction. Great. Okay, so I hope that you came up with some good ideas about what Pierre might do in this book. And when you do that, you're making a prediction, and a prediction is just an educated guess about what might happen in the story. Now, did you think that it was fiction or nonfiction? Right, you guys are so smart. You said that it is nonfiction, and that is because the title tells us it is a true story. When something is true or real, or it gives us facts and information that can be proven, then it is considered nonfiction. Whereas fiction is something that is completely made up. So this story is actually nonfiction, and it's written in the form of a story. So some nonfiction actually has photographs on the cover and throughout the book, so that you get an idea right away that it is nonfiction because you see pictures of real things. But in this case, the pictures that you see are actually illustrations or drawings or paintings. So they're more like art rather than photography. And so you can't use that rule of thumb when you're trying to decide if it's fiction or nonfiction. Okay. Okay, kiddos, sit tight. I'm going to talk to the parents one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, we spend a lot of time all day showing parents, teaching students that they do certain things before, during, and after the reading process. And just like at the beginning of the meeting, when we talked about what do you already know about penguins, and what do you want to know? So in that case, you're priming the pump, and you're starting the process of thinking about, what do I already know about penguins? I'm building my background. I'm activating prior knowledge is what I'm doing. And as we read the story, then we're going to build background information, and we're going to add to what we already know about penguins. And then while we read, then I asked you, what do you think Pierre is going to do? And so you made a prediction. That is also something that we do. As we read the story, then you will find out whether or not your predictions were true or not. And if they aren't, that's perfectly fine, because it's just an educated guess. And then also sometimes before we read, we talk about words that are going to come up in the story. And we decide, we just talk about them. And I'll show you how we do that in just a little bit. And then the other thing we do is we take a picture walk. And sometimes that's when we actually notice the words that we're going to talk about a little bit before we actually read the book. So when you take a picture walk, you just go through the pages and you say, oh, look, where's the snow? I thought penguins lived in the snow. And oh, look, there's a lady standing in the water. And I wonder which one of those penguins is Pierre. So you just kind of look at the pictures and you talk about things a little bit before you read. And so once you've done some of those things, then you're ready to actually read the book. Then while we read, we think about what we're reading, and we ask I wonder questions off and on throughout the story. And that helps us really focus in on the reading and not get distracted. Then after we read, we always retell and summarize. And so all of these steps are the steps to an interactive read aloud. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So boys and girls, are you ready to read the story about Pierre? All right, now I'm going to switch to my camera. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm back on the camera. Okay, so boys and girls, this is the story of Pierre the penguin. It's a true story. This is the front cover. This is the back cover. And we see that on the back cover, there is a lady holding a penguin. Did you know you could actually hold a penguin like that? I didn't know that. She's kind of holding it like a baby. So this gives us a little snippet or an idea of what might happen. One day, aquatic biologist Pam, observing the penguins, saw one in a jam. Gently, gently, she examined Pierre. His feathers were gone. His bottom was bare. Oh my goodness, his bottom was bare. And forgive me while I switch sides over here. I think the lighting is a little bit better. There we go. I think that works. Okay, so now we've looked at the front cover and we've looked at the back cover. Let's just take a quick picture walk. This is just the title page. Remember, it shows you what is it shows you the front cover again. And then now we see where the story is actually getting started. And we see some penguins swimming around under the water. And oh, wow, this looks like a big building. And I see a word in there. It's called an aquarium. It's aquarium, this word right here. Aquarium. Huh. So I've seen a fish tank before. And it's just a container that holds water, and the fish, you put fish in it and fish swim around in it. So these don't look like aquariums because those aren't fish for one thing. And then, but down here at the end, maybe that's the aquarium, because I do see some penguins up there. Those are real live penguins, but I don't think these are real live animals. I think they're just displays. And then there's a bunch of penguins, but there's no snow. Oh, and there's that lady again. Her name is Pam. I wonder if that's Pierre that she's getting ready to pick up. Oh, and there she is holding him. That's the same picture we saw on the back cover. Okay, so we're not going to walk through the whole book, but that was our picture walk, in case you were wondering, parents. All right, so let's go back to the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and read the story. This is the true story of Pierre, a small penguin in a big museum. You know what a museum is? Have you been to a museum? You know, a museum is usually a pretty big place, and it has artifacts and objects and sometimes art and animals and all kinds of information. Some of it's old and some of it's new. But it is also about the people at the California Academy of Sciences who work together to help him through a hard time. So Pierre's going to have a hard time. I wonder what that's going to be. Down at the end of African Hall, past statues of animals big and small, there's an aquarium wide and tall with real live penguins, 20 in all. I noticed something about those words. Boys and girls, did you hear it? Yes, the words at the end of the sentence rhyme. Remember, rhyming words are words that sound the same at the end of the word. So the beginning sound changes, but the end of it stays the same. So hall rhymes with small, and small rhymes with tall, and hall, small, tall, all rhyme with the word all. Want to hear something funny? My last name is Raw. Do you hear it? That rhymes with hall, small, tall, and all. How funny. All right. African penguins don't like ice. For them, a warmer place is nice. Now we know why there's no snow, because African penguins don't like snow. They don't like ice. They said on the other page there was 20. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 penguins. That's awesome. Now I think we might find out why she's in the water. Looks like she might be giving them something out of that bucket. I wonder what it is. Here comes Pam with fish in her pail. Oh, there you go. There's fish in her bucket. The penguins are fed twice a day without fail. Did you hear those rhyming words? Pail and fail. Pam enters the tank through the sky-painted wall. A hidden door there leads out to a hall. Some of the penguins look just the same. Wing bands help Pam call the birds by name. Oh, isn't that sweet? They named the birds. But did you hear? In order to tell them apart, they put wing bands on them. Look, this little baby has a blue wing band. It's like a bracelet. This one has a red one. And this one has like a gray or brown one. I wonder what's going to happen next. One day, aquatic biologist Pam, observing the penguins, saw one in a jam. Do you know what a jam is? Yeah, that's when you're in a tough spot. You're in a jam or a traffic jam. Get stuck in the traffic and you can't get out. Gently, gently, she examined Pierre. His feathers were gone. His bottom was bare. What does bare mean? It's not like a bear that growls in the woods. It's spelled differently. His bottom was bare. Have you ever gone barefoot? What does that mean? When you're barefoot, you don't have any shoes on, right? Or if you're riding bareback on a horse, then you're riding a horse without a saddle. So bare, his bottom was bare. But penguins don't wear clothes. Look, I think he's missing something. He has lots of feathers up here. Think he's missing his feathers down there? Pierre was afraid to go for a swim. He'd get too cold if he dived right in. How can I help you? What can I do? Pam had ideas and tried the first two. She tried a heater and the vet prescribed pills, but nothing worked. Pierre shivered still. Oh my goodness. I wonder if she really cares about that penguin. Maybe she even loves Pierre. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. And boys and girls, I want you to think about everything that we've read so far. And I want you to summarize or retell to your parents what we've read about so far. Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes and you can hit pause while you talk about what has happened in the story so far. All right. Boys and girls, did you retell what the story was about? Remember, when you retell a story, you need to talk about the characters. Who was the character today? Pierre. And who is the other character? Pam, right. So we had two characters today so far in what we've read. Where did it take place? In that museum, in the aquarium area, right? And then what was the problem? Pierre didn't have any tail feathers. And how did they try to solve the problem? Oh yeah, the vet gave him medicine and they tried using a heater and nothing worked. And then, do we know how it ended? No, not yet. We don't. So you have to read the rest of the book to find out how it ended. Okay, so did you see the steps in the interactive read aloud that we did? We took a picture walk and we talked about the pictures. you had already talked about what you already know about penguins, and we talked about a few words like aquarium before we actually started reading the story. Then we started reading the story, and during the story, I asked a few I wonder questions, and we also stopped and talked about the rhyming word pattern that we noticed in the book. And so that was something that we hadn't talked about before I started reading, but it is always something good to do. You don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but if you notice a pattern, it's always good to stop and point that out with your kiddos. And then we stopped after I read a few pages, and you had an opportunity for your child to retell or summarize what we talked about. Now, remember, retelling can be done. The end of the story isn't the only time you can retell. You can retell every couple of pages just to make sure that your student is understanding what they're reading, because in the end, comprehension is the main goal of reading. So one of the things that is always important to do, or is always important to remember, especially with the books that we share for these literacy workshops, and that is that these books aren't really at an independent reading level for first graders. They are at a higher reading level on purpose, because that way your student will need the support that you're going to provide for them. And so this gives you an opportunity to read fluently, to model that fluent reading, and to model the thinking process of before, during, and after reading. And it also just gives you an opportunity to have a fun time with your kiddo. So just remember that these books are not at first grade reading level, certainly not in November, but they are intentionally at a higher reading level. So now I'm just going to share a couple of more ideas of things that you can do at home to help your kiddo. So one of the things we noticed in this story was that they had rhyming words. And so you can do a rhyming activity that's called rhyme time. And it's kind of like a guessing game. And you start out by saying, I'm thinking of a word that begins with and rhymes with bed. What's the word? Red. Very good. Okay, I'm thinking of a word that rhymes with rug, and it begins with what's the new word? Mug. Very good. So you can see that it's something that you can do with rhyming words. You can change the hints, and you can use more meaning-based. So I'm thinking of a word that begins with grr, and it's usually the color of plants. Oh, the word is green. Very good. So you can use this not just with rhyming words, but with lots of other kinds of reading activities. The next thing, and also before I go on to the next thing, in the resource folder that I'm going to share with you after we're done, there is a set of picture cards in there that you could print if you wanted to and cut them apart, and then you'd have a little stack of them. Or you can just look at them and say, oh, that's a picture of a ball. And so then I can use these phrases. I'm thinking of a word that rhymes with ball and begins with fall. Okay, so you can look at the pictures and then give your clues, or you can actually have the pictures out on the table. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next one. The next activity has to do with sight words. And remember, sight words are words that we want your student to be able to read lickety-split without any hesitation and very fluently. When students can read their sight words fluently, and then they have lots of energy left over to think about what's really going on in what they're reading, and they can pay attention to the comprehension part that is really the name of the game when we read. So learning to read sight words is very, very important. And there is a strong connection between being able to read a sight word and spell a sight word. So we use an activity called read, spell, read. I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go back. I'm going to use my camera. And so I'm going to use this chart paper that's right behind me. So when we do read, spell, read, you put your finger underneath the word, the beginning letter, and you read and slide from F-R-O-M, from. So you see, we read the word first, then we spell the word, and then we read the word. From, F-R-O-M, from. Okay, so in your resource folder that I'm going to share with you, there is a list of sight words for first graders. And in that list, you can actually print the word cards out and cut them apart, or you can make your own word cards just by cutting a piece of paper into smaller pieces and handwriting the words that you see on the list. So just remember that it all depends on what kind of technology you have available at home. And then the other thing is that there are lots of words on the list in the resource folder. And so I want to be sure that you understand that you don't want to do all 100 words at one time, or 50 words at a time, or even 25 words at a time. Start with 5 or 10. And just flip through the cards. Can your child read them automatically? If they struggle with one, then you stop and you do read, spell, read. And you do it a couple of times, and then you set that word aside so that you can come back to it and practice some more. So as your students are able to read more and more words, you can switch some of those 5 or 10 words out and bring in more sight words. And so just so that you're keeping up with about 5 or 10 words at a time. And then again, as you come to words where your child doesn't know the word automatically, then that's when you do read, spell, read. Okay. Okay, the last thing has to do with reading comprehension. And remember, we talked about summarizing, and I was holding my hand up and I said, we talk about the characters and the setting and then the problem. And what did they do to try to fix the problem? And how did they actually fix the problem? So you can use your hand with those 5 things that I just mentioned, or you could do what happened at the beginning, the middle, and the end. But you still want to include who the story was about and where did it take place. So that gives you another 5 fingers. You're going to use your hand to help you retell or summarize what you've read about or what your student has read about when you have read a story, something that's written in a narrative format. But if you have something that is nonfiction and it is it's providing more facts and details and main ideas, then those are the things that you're going to include in a summary or a retelling. And so as your child is retelling different things that you read at home, just remember to try and remember to have the main elements of a retell or a summary. Then also remember that a summary isn't going to go back and tell every little detail that your child read in the book. So your child might want to go back and look through the book to help them do the retelling, and that's okay at first. But what you really want to do is help them narrow down the information that they share in a retelling, because a retelling just actually tells you the gist of what the book was about. Even though it does look for those specific characteristics for fiction and nonfiction, It's really just giving you the big picture overview of what they read about. Okay, so hopefully that helps you know what belongs in a summary. Just think about it. If somebody goes to a movie and you go, oh, I want to see that. What was that about? You don't want them to tell you everything because that will spoil the movie for you. But you just want them to give you the big picture. And remember, when you're talking about a movie, you don't want to spoil the ending. But in a summary, it's important to include something from the end. Okay. These are just links to the activities, but I'm actually going to email the link to the whole folder to you, so you don't really need those. And now you might be thinking, so what do I do now? You know, watch the video, I'm waiting on my books. Well, you just keep doing what you're doing. You read with your child every day. You talk about letters and words and have fun with them. And then if you're reading something, talk to your child about what you're reading. And then no matter what you're doing, just try to remember to have fun and keep it engaging and a happy, pleasant experience. First grade is a whole year long, so relax. We're just at the end of the second 6 weeks. We're starting the third 6 weeks. So there's a long part of the year left for first grade. So your child is going to keep going from where they are now, and they're going to keep growing as a reader throughout the year. And with your help, I'm sure they're going to meet their end of the year goals. This is the QR code and the link for our exit ticket. If you did not have a chance to fill out the sign-in sheet, then please do fill out the exit ticket. And even if you did fill out the sign-in sheet, then please do fill out the exit ticket because we have some questions at the end. Just a couple. One is, what was something you learned today? And then the other one is, what could we do better next time? So if you don't mind, just go ahead and fill out the exit ticket. And then the next thing that will happen is that as soon as the books come in, we will send them to your child's teacher, and your child's teacher will send them home to you. So I just want to wish you a wonderful rest of the first grade school year. And I hope that if you have any questions or if there's any way that we can support you, that you will reach out to me. My email address is KELLYRALL@HEBISD.edu. And again, that's Kelly Rall with no spaces, KELLYRALL@HEBISD.edu. Thanks very much and have a great rest of the school year.